All right, let's try that again. I had myself muted to work on some things. Um, so I wanted to do just a real quick end of season wrap up, thoughts, feelings, something the viewers of the season can look back on, and myself to look back on as like a study guide to keep my thoughts kind of centralized. We finished the campaign. We actually made it. We can go to my page here. Someone in the Discord, Blackthorn or whatever, made us these nice spreadsheets to account for like all of our information and stuff. And this thing is really, 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 really helpful. I wish I had this when I made the original preseason video. Um, as that video is, it's a work of art. I said sarcastically. But yeah, some of this isn't entirely accurate because I changed things up as we went. I do want to talk about the first thing I wanted to mention specifically was teams. I feel like I made some mistakes in initial team building. I think Yugi's team was good. I put Meteor Black and the Dinos, Two Headed and Thunder Dragon. This team, while it did break at the very end, it didn't really break due to my own mismanagement. We just got unlucky with some paralysis. It is what it is. This team did a lot of heavy lifting, but I was really appreciative how they didn't become like the main team by the end of the game. I had, two or three teams that were capable of maybe not killing bosses, but scrapping with bosses and not being blown out. So we were able to have a balanced attack the last few missions. I wish I could have gotten there earlier, but it is what it is. For Joey, I know it says Sword Stalker here. It used to be Alpha. Alpha was originally on this team. The valued Armored Squadron. This team probably... There would have been a few changes. I severely underlooked Ryukushin Powered. He has a lot more HP than I give him credit, or like I initially gave him credit for. And so I think rather Zanki or Alpha, would have left and Ryukushin would have been there. He slotted in quite well for someone that, joined up mission 18, 19 on a pretty beat up team. So yes, he had black metal to carry him, but he did much better than I'd give him credit for. And I'll talk about the rest of these tunes, later on, in a little more detail. But I think I wanted to start with that because the Armored Squadron could have been so much better. And Meteor Black did carry all the way to the end, but Alpha died, Zanki died, Swordstalker died, and they deserved a little bit better. I still think Zanki or Alpha would have died along the way, but there is certainly more we could have done with the Armored Squadron, even though they did quite well for what they were. The dinosaur team of Megazalor, Yurbi, and Cybersaurus, I put them on Tristan because Tristan had the worst HP growths, and these guys were pretty tanky. I think under that logic, this works out. I think, though, what I would rather have done is put them on my. I think I would have rather put them on my. Because my has a lot of action points, which is something that Cybersaurus would have desperately needed. And I think it would have helped this team get going a lot sooner because my really ramps in action points. Yeah, it would have taken time for their orbs to convert to her color. But I feel like that's a fair trade-off, right? It's like my gains decent HP, not really. But the action points are really nice, and these guys would have appreciated it. And we could have had some, better roles with this team. Because European Megazowler certainly put in the work that I thought they could. Um, I believed in them from the beginning, and I feel bad because I kind of let them down. You know, Yerby had a much worse throwing than the other way I should have. Megazowler did survive to the end, but like they certainly deserved better than Tristan. And I think if I put them on my, they might have ramped a little faster. Um, and then we have the Taya team here. I think this team ended up being the one, right? It just took to mission 18 to combo off. That's when Dark Magician got his level 5 magic. And you could tell, like, you could see the moment he hit level 5 magic, this team went from, like, mediocre and struggling and, like, occasionally putting in work to, like, boss killer, dangerous level overnight. And I kind of figured it would be that way, right? Celtic Guardian has always been pretty good. His only real knock is he has low attack, as to be expected of a monster with 1400 base attack. He's got really bad HP. And so does Dark Magician. Dark Magician's starting HP is really low, and it doesn't really get much better as the game progresses. And Taya is okay. I just think a better team would have benefited her. And I feel bad, even though this team, carried. It could have been a little bit better. I could have managed this team better. A lot of this is hindsight, though. I think actually in practice, they did about as well as I could have expected. There were just some moments where I was, a little overly nervous about how things were going to go with them. But they kind of deserve better than that, And then my team, I've already kind of talked about it. I wish I had taken them, and they probably would have gone to like Tristan or Sheeman or someone. I think instead of killing off, I killed off Duke and Sheeman pretty early, and Duke was a mistake outright. Duke is a high HP marshal, so I kind of threw away Ryukushin Powered. I kind of threw away Swordstalker. Swordstalker is whatever. He has low HP anyway. But Ryukushin Powered would have been, probably would have been a much better tune early in the game. And I think he would have had the case to make it deep because of armor and his decent HP growths. He's a lot better than I gave him credit for. I still think I drafted him too high, but I think he's better than what I showed him to be. So look at me drafting him potentially in future drafts as well. But yeah, I think killing these two off was a mistake. Specifically Duke. I don't really know about Sheeman. I think Sheeman and Taya are the same. So you could probably like kill one of them off or both of them off and it would have been fine, and keep Tristan, or keep Taya and kill Tristan and Sheeman. But I kind of wish like Taya's team was on Duke or my team was on Duke, and then, so on and so forth. I feel like that would have made a pretty big difference. Because most of our bad luck started in Mission 5, right? Mission 5 is when things started to go downhill. We had Dark Magician number 2 unluckily die, which ended up being like a pretty big loss. And you knew it was a big loss at the time, but it really broke Mai's team. And she would have loved to have that, right? Because Mai's team would have been almost a mirror image of Taya's team. The difference would probably be that I would have to run like a Dion Keto with like Dark Rabbit or something to survive that initial blowback. But maybe not, I don't know. Because then you had kind of the same setup that Taya has. You have Cannon, who has a healing AoE. Dark Rabbit, who's your damage dealer. And then Dark Magician, who's your support, right? He sets up Barrier Seas, which were very powerful. Swords Revealing Light, which was very powerful. We abused those at the end of the game pretty hard, and rightfully so. It kind of would have made both of these teams very similar in how they played, and it's a shame. It's a shame because losing Dark Magician number 2 in Mission 5 really hurt us. Could he have been saved? Probably. Am I going to beat myself too much up over it? No. We made it to the end. I think it'll be fine. And then my team really struggled, right? We had three-headed Gidu who died on Mission 9. I think Cannon died in 14. And then it was downhill from there. Silverfang died in 17. And then Dark Rabbit himself eventually died in 21. And while Dark Rabbit made it to 21, it's, it is what it is. He got unluckily critted from 2,000 HP. But again, if that Dark Rabbit was on Duke or something, there's a much better chance he lives. So it is what it is. I'm not really going to be too upset about that. All things considered, 1,100 life points is pretty good. For our first season, there are some people that are putting up near perfect scores. We did not have a roster that would do that. And some of that's my drafting. Some of that is things changed after we drafted to make things a little more viable. And I think a lot of people underestimated certain skills. So there's that. It's a lot of give and take between kind of the two. But all in all, I think a lot of these guys performed pretty well. I think the biggest thing is that of your 7 marshals, you're only really going to have 5 that are viable at any given moment. And to have 4 go into the final mission and be viable, even though we took some painful losses, I think sums up, that philosophy quite well. I think in hindsight, I would have used Ryukushin powered more. And that was it. That was the only monster that didn't make it into these first 5 teams here. Because these 5 are who I was betting on. And most of them were pretty consistent, right? Until the end. I know Joey died. Mission 17 is kind of where we ended him. And that's kind of okay. We carried the rest of the game just fine. We didn't really suffer any serious breaks until Mission 22. And by that point, you're done. You're home free, right? You're walking right into the finish. And it's just finish that level and survive, which we did. So, it did its job. Kind of going along that, I wanted to go by monster by monster. Some of these are going to be pretty quick and just talk about what I felt about them. Where I liked, what I liked about them, if I liked them at all, so on and so forth. Alpha was very helpful for a long time. I drafted Alpha to block someone else from getting Valkyrion. I think in the future, I don't really care. Because the Magnet Warriors are pretty fragile. I know over in the Obelisk division, someone did have all 3 of the Magnet Warriors, and that team eventually got ripped to shreds, just incidentally, right? Fully healed, I think Beta, and then Beta got critted and died at full HP on Mission 7. So, the Magnet Warriors are okay, but their HP is very low. They kind of fall into but they have armor group, and that's okay, but they're still very vulnerable. I think if you incidentally draft one, you're in a machine round and you just so happen to pick one up, I think that's okay. They're the best thing on the board, right? If they're the best thing in the board in the category you're drafting, obviously draft them, and they're not gonna be bad. They get armor at level 15. They have castle adept, so they're pretty good at fighting in castles. Their only real danger of them dying is to a stray bullet, like a crit, right? They'll take any normal hit just fine, but a stray crit hitting them, or it can struggle the late game on like mission 17 and stuff with like as long as they're not fighting bosses, they'll be okay. But still, I wish I didn't reach to grab him. I wish I'd picked him up a little later. Um, all in all, though, he did okay before he died. Aquamadur, okay tune, not really worth carrying. He just is level 3 magic. He's a support. I do believe in support tunes. I think that's, good and helpful. Aquamadur just wasn't it, right? We had other support tunes that were better. Maybe I should have given him a chance over Cybersaurus on Tristan. To carry like high level spells, specifically Gift of the Mystical Elf. But that would have been it. He doesn't get like super stamina, which was kind of the theme of that team. But I feel like that may have been a viable change. Celtic Guardian is becoming a meme after his, speed. He's kind of in the same boat as Alpha. Alpha's good because he can confuse with machine equips. Celtic Guardian can do that outright. He has a confusion on basic at level 30. Celtic Guardian is very good. He just has very low HP and kind of falls in the same boat as Alpha. A stray crit and he's dead. But if you put him with a couple support tunes, he could be okay. He just has to see heavy fighting, which is dangerous, right? Heavy fighting is dangerous because they can die, point blank. And his attack is pretty abysmal. But in Yuki's campaign, there's a lot of dragons, right? You fight tons of dragons. In 18, obviously Kaiba has tons of dragons. Rex has dragons. Dinosaurs are considered dragons in Falsebound Kingdom, for those that don't know. And so that's its own thing. That's pretty scary. And so that's pretty helpful. You can give him a Sword of Dragon Soul, and he'll put in work. It is what it is. As I said, I wish I'd put him on a team with more HP, but I was not disappointed. Obviously, he made it to the end game. Like, he was on the final team. So he went coast to coast. That Taya team went coast to coast. And you got to respect it in some ways, Will he do it again? Probably not, but he did it. He did it once, and he can always claim that. Cybersaurus was given to me in the final round by a wheel spin. As someone who was a gift, he did fine. He was just a support tune. He wasn't meant to do anything crazy, and he did his job just fine. I ended up picking him because he could confuse himself. This team became less of a boss slayer. So, like, in the context of not killing bosses, Cybersaurus probably could have gone for Aquamadur. But hindsight, Cybersaurus had his uses. He fulfilled them pretty well. There you go. I'm going to lump Dark Magician and Dark Magician number 2 kind of in the same spot. Because Dark Magician number 2 would have put up very similar numbers to Dark Magician if he had survived. These guys are very powerful. They have decent HP early game. They're a little susceptible. And you kind of have to, baby them a little bit. But once they're cooking, they're cooking. Not a lot of people with level 5 magic get magic craft. There are some. But I think it's the Dark Magician line that gets it the most. And it makes them very late bloomers. But once they hit that curve, they're running. And so you kind of have to, protect them a little bit. They have good attack. So there's that. They have good defense, so they can guard. But you pretty much have to use them out the gate and not be so reckless. I was a little reckless with Dark Magician number 2, and I think I wouldn't do that in hindsight. I think I would protect him a little more. That way you can kind of have 2 of them, right? I think you only really need 1, because they're pretty much support tunes. But they're very, very, very powerful support tunes. Magic Craft boosts magic effectiveness. So your Swords of Revealing Light is taking away more than 1,000 attack. and that adds up very quickly and is very effective. Dark Rabbit, he did his job. His job was to go and confuse. He did that. He got critted and died off of like a harpy attack, which is the strongest, like one of the strongest combo attacks in the game. Nothing much you can do about that. It is what it is. Do I think he's a good toon? Yes, I still think he's good. And that's not going to change. Gyaku Tenno Megami, great. She has to hit level 30. That's really her only stipulation. She can carry Gift of the Mystical Elf. Powerful healing. Cool. She made it to the end. She did her job. It was great. Cannon, the team mascot. Cannon was great. Cannon's death was very unfortunate. I did not mean to put that team in the base. I even think I said that in the VOD, that I didn't mean to do that. And her death was tragic. It was kind of my own fault. But you can't predict a crit like that either. She got crit for like 900 HP, and then was picked off, after that. I still value her pretty high, but she has to be babied herself a little bit. She has lower HP. Most warriors kind of have that low HP limitation, and she's certainly one of them. But she's a healer that doesn't need meds. Take that as you will. That's pretty good. And there are no items that inherently crit warriors. So, again, I think our problem with her is just we made a mistake and it costed her her life. But I still value her pretty well. I think the spreadsheet that evaluates characters, she started as a 4 and it was changed to a 3.5. I would still call her a 4. I think she might be a bit of a reach in certain warrior scenarios, but if you're drafting like a warrior round, I think she's an adequate pick. Megazowler, just might as well talk about all the dinosaurs all at once. So 2-headed, Uribi, Megazowler, and Thunder Dragon. We'll just count him since he fuses with 2-headed King Rex. All 4 of them, people say, oh, dinosaurs suck. That was kind of a pretty big idea, but HP and tankiness is such a valuable metric. And they did just fine. I wish they would have done, a little bit more. I trusted them a little more, but 2 of them, 2-headed and Thunder Dragon, were on my primary team, so they put in work. But Megazowler certainly should have put in more work, and Uribi slept on. Because Uribi has pretty low starting HP. He does kind of ramp a little bit to be a little more decent. His HP is still a little low, but it is higher than some other monsters. And he's very fast. So if you're looking for speed, Uribi really sticks out there. So there's that. Dinosaurs worthy. Dinosaurs are significantly better than people gave them initial credit for. Cool. Meteor Black, he's a fusion. He did what fusions do. I know there's talk about fusions being banned next season. It's probably for the best. My Meteor Black really carried me through the early game and the mid game. I know Taya's team kind of took over here at the end game, but I think if you take Meteor Black away from me, I'm forced to use some of these tunes a little bit differently. Maybe a Dark Magician ends up on Yugi's team. Maybe these fusions go to someone else, and things are a little different. Yugi is the head marshal, and so he has the best stack growths. And I think if you took Meteor Black away from me, things would have been a little bit different. I think this team kind of card carried the early game, but I would have played a bit differently, and maybe some more of these tunes that died wouldn't have died, so on and so forth. Phantom Dewan, trash. He gets paralyzed, but his HP is so low, he'll probably die. Never used him. He sat on the bench the whole time. I never even thought about bringing him off the bench. Black Metal Dragon. Black Metal Dragon's great. This is a monster I firmly believe in. A lot of item changes are pretty good. Black Metal is no exception. He becomes a machine, which is very valuable. Machines cannot be critted through equip items, which is a big deal. Because there are like dragon item, like Sword of Dragon Soul, that you can equip to a warrior that will deal super effective hits to dragons. Red Eyes does not have that issue, or Black Metal specifically doesn't have that issue. It's pretty tanky, and he kind of starts off as an attacker and can kind of transition to a support, which is really good because he's good at all stages of the game. I think he's a valuable pick. You'll probably get him in the mid rounds of an item change draft, and hey, I'm a believer. He's no Blackluster Soldier. He's no Magician of Black Chaos, but he doesn't need to be. He's a machine that can confuse and is tanky and has armor. So like do with that what you will. He's not a pushover. There are some item changes that are really bad, like zombie or dragon zombie or whatever. Black Metal Dragon is certainly not one of them. I've kind of talked about Ryukushin powered. I wish I'd used him more. Enough said. Silverfang, we all know the meme with Silverfang. He's fast and elusive, and now he's dead. He was kind of put on that team as like an emergency type thing, and after Gidu died, and it is what it is. It probably ended up contributing to Canon's death. So there's that. Swordstalker put in some work in the few missions he did, but his death ultimately was untimely. Same with 3-headed Gidu. He was critted. I think Gidu is probably better than he was initially given credit for. I don't think he's very good overall. He does have level 3 magic, though. Level 3 magic is good. Again, just because of Gift of the Mystical Elf. But Gidu did some work before he died, and then he got critted and died. It is what it is. And then I think the last monster we need to talk about is Zonky, right? I think Zonky was okay. I think Zonky suffers the same issue a lot of warriors do. Low HP. The argument is, but he's got armor dough, and it's like, okay, sure. He's got armor. Who cares? His HP is so low, he dies when he's looked at sideways. That being said, again, if you're in a warrior round and he's on the board and he's the best pick available, obviously take him. He's not bad. He can put in work. He just can die in the late game due to being critted. That's true for a lot of monsters. Like, that's not explicitly him, but he does run that risk of a stray crit just offing him. That happened to Dark Rabbit, but at that time, Dark Rabbit had 2,000 HP, and it was like, the Harpy Ladies. That's a very powerful attack. Zonky died due to a single combo attack. I don't know. It is what it is. I think if he's the best unit available, take him. But if he's not, maybe take someone else. We can even look at the picks here, and when I drafted people, you can kind of see what rounds were going on. In this free round, I picked Dark Magician. I think this was fine. A lot of people would argue maybe don't pick Dark Magician here, maybe pick him in a later round. I was totally okay with this. I was okay with this. Beast. By the time my turn came around, I got Dark Rabbit. I liked Dark Rabbit. He was very good. Warriors. I think Warriors went this way. Yeah. And I got Swordstalker. I probably would have picked another Warrior. One of the Battle Guards probably would have been better. Or even Mystic Horseman. Tom got Mystic Horseman. Lucky bastard. But, I probably would have picked Mystic Horseman or one of the Battle Guards in a do-over of this round. I was not a fan of Swordstalker. This is a reach, I think. This is a reach. And then Spirits, I got Megami. She was fine. She was the best on the board, I think, at the time. Millennium Golem, would have been a good pick too, but Megami's fine. And then, the Demon or Fiend or whatever rolled around. And by the time I got to pick, I did pick Ryukushin Powered. It was a speed pick. I picked him due to speed. That ended up not mattering. The game got an update on Bakura's mission to make it easier, so that speed didn't really matter. And it really devalued this pick because Tom got Bakuri Box. No, like Tom obviously drafted a very good draft, as you can see. Getting all 3 Blue Eyes busted. But, that being said, I probably would have taken Bakuri Box over Ryukushin Powered in an alternate timeline where I would have known speed didn't matter. And none of us knew that would change, so this isn't like pointing a finger and being like, ooh. It's just, this is one that would have been different in hindsight, which is always 2020 and should very much be stated. And so we got another free one, and I picked Thunder Dragon. This was an okay pick in this context. In the context of, like, I needed to complete the combo. I had the opportunity to complete the combo. I completed the combo. Right? DMG, I think, had already been taken by this point. So, like, there was no point in drafting her. I know she got traded. Maybe she was still on the board and I could have picked her. It doesn't matter. Dark Magician Girl is kind of not that great. But she combos with Dark Magician. Yes, but she's also fragile. So, do with that as you will. I think she only gets level 4 magic too, which is still good. You can still do things with it, but I'd still pick her. She's still like a 4.5 or a 4 on the scale. Obviously, very good tune. Like, even by herself, she's good, but it is what it is. But yeah, I also gave up some valuable picks for that. But I think in this case it was okay. I was gifted the 2-headed King Rex, and so I made it work. And I'm not disappointed in it. In the spellcaster round, I think I took Dark Magician number 2. I think he was the best pick available. So yeah, he died early. That's not his fault. It is what it is. The beast round, I picked Silverfang. I probably could have picked Octoburster, but it doesn't really matter. We had already had a beast round, so you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, and Silverfang is pretty good for what he is. All right. Item change. I wanted the Magician of Black Chaos. Cheesy or Chezzy, whoever. This guy. He got him first. It's fine. I ended up with Black Metal. If there was anyone I liked that I didn't get, that would have, I would have probably slept on, would have been Moisture Creature. I think in hindsight, Moisture Creature is very good. And I probably should have picked him. But Black Metal did his job. He's fine. Then we had another free round after that. And I picked Cannon here. I think this was a fine pick. Looking at who's available, I think it's fine. It might have been a bit of a reach, but if it was a small bit of a reach. And that is what it is. I think of the available tunes, Parrot Dragon would have been really good. Queen of Autumn Leaves, Judge Man probably would have been a better pick because he's got confusion on basic. But Cannon did her job. Again, she was probably a reach, but I'm not too upset about it. And then we had another free, and I picked Alpha. This one I feel bad about. I did it to block, this guy from getting all the Magnet Warriors, but in hindsight, I don't really care. Let him have all the Magnet Warriors. I wish I would have picked differently. But is what it is. Hindsight's 2020. You could always reevaluate from there. I don't know if there were any good machines left at this point. But there were some good tunes like Karyushin on the board. Judge Man was obviously on the board. Sayaru. Parrot Dragon and Queen of Autumn Leaves are obvious choices, you know. And then we had the low stat tunes. And I got, Madur, Uraby, Guardian, Gidu, and Dewan. Dewan was by default, man. When you're looking at these, none of them are good. you're picking a bench tune. It is what it is. But, of Madur, Uraby, Guardian, and Gidu, two of them put in a lot of work. A third one was a rotational member who died. And, Madur probably could have been used better. So it is what it is. Our fusions, we got Meteor Black. Meteor Black obviously is very good. I would value... there's some of them that are really good. I think Gaia the Dragon Champion is probably the best. Obviously, he went first, in that round. And then I would probably value Twin-Headed. They're probably on the same level, Gaia and Twin-Headed. Hot take. I think Chimera, the flying mythical beast, is a lot better than a lot of people give him credit for. He confuses on basic. I think at like level 1. And that's very good. He's a fusion monster, so he's very fast. And that's just really good. That's really good. I think a lot of people, myself included, overlooked it. I think maybe in a different setting, Chimera might be a good... Because that's kind of the hard part, right? If you have access to Meteor Black or Twin-Headed or Gaia, you're going to pick them. They're good picks. But, like, Chimera is a little bit better than I think a lot of people gave him credit for. Just because of how strong Confusion is, and he's fast. He's going to go first. I think that's invaluable, really. Especially at the end game. Chimera, I'm sure, puts up... I would love to see someone with Chimera make it to the end game to kind of prove this point. As of this recording, no one with Chimera has made it to the end game. Half of us are done between both leagues. And so, like, the Chimera, I think, is much better than people give him credit for. Would love to see him, make it to the end. And then we were picking, leftover monsters. I got Mega Zowler here. I think this was fine. Judge Man may have been a little bit better. Maybe. But no, he's crying about it. If I was going to pick Judge Man, I should have picked them, like, up here, in a warrior round or something. And then I probably could have got Queen of Autumn Leaves over Zonky. I think that's the one. Oh, man, it's a lot of Tom's monsters that I could have gotten. In hindsight. That's okay, though. You kind of learn. You learn a lot as you go on. I think that would have been a big one. And then this last round was random. These monsters were gifted to us. There was no choice. It is what it is. I ended with Cybersaurus. Karyushin would have been better. Just kind of ends up being, what it is. And that's... At the end of the day, that's fine, right? This draft team was fine. But as I said, the TLDR, now that I've been rambling for, 30 minutes about this, I think 15 minutes about the draft, is that I reached for some tunes and left some quality tunes on the board that I kind of, neglected. And I won't be making that mistake again if it can be avoided. So, there's that. I'll probably start setting up a draft board, like a better draft board, of kind of... I want to call, like, the first... The problem with setting up a draft board is you kind of have to go archetype by archetype, like what's the best what are the best beasts, what are the best dragons, what are the best fiends, but I think it would be worth the time to go through and prepare that for the future. So maybe I'll have my own personal list of who I think are the top 5 to 8 of each archetype and where I should draft them and what I think about them. It'll be a little easier once we get to see everyone done. I'm making this a little early because I can talk about my own run and what I've seen from others, and so that's that. And then just kind of to wrap up, we can talk about the home page here. We had some good things. I think Dark Rabbit making the kill leaderboard, even if it's temporary, is hilarious. Celtic Guardian making the level leader, again, even if temporary, is hilarious. And we did a pretty good job, of managing our fusion. I know a lot of people's fusions are on the leaderboard here. Right? Yeah. But the highest was 68, and that was Tom. One of the developers. So if his fusion's hitting 68 and mine's only at 63, I think we did pretty good at not over relying on our fusion. So that was nice. I really relied on my fusion less and less near the end game, and that's kind of why it probably stayed like that, but it is what it is. We ended with a nice 1,100 life points, and so we have 4 people left with more life points than us. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I'll probably post a community note at the end of the season when it's official. Where we've placed formally. Right now we're currently sitting in 2nd. I predict myself to end up in 4th, which is enough. It's enough to go on to Obelisk in the winners division. I think we make it. I think we made it. I don't think the Harpies or the Skull Knights are going to catch us. This is indeed a challenge, you two, if you watch this video. Again, catch me if you can. I am actively throwing down the gauntlet, and I think the Penguins and the Meteors are going to be fine. I'm not too worried about them anyway. Again, I only need 2 out of the 4 to fail, and 2 of them are on that. They're on Joey 13, and Joey 13, claimed a life the other day. It's a very scary mission, and it's capable of, outright killing people. So to kind of wrap up, with all my ums, I am really hoping that next season's quality is better. I spent a lot of time sitting down and working on stream stuff, because I think now I can stream to YouTube. I'm hoping to kind of get that up and running for the start of next season. That way I can kind of multi-stream, and VODs aren't kind of left up, that I have to manually record and then upload later to YouTube. That still might have to happen some days. You never know. But it would be really nice to not have that have to be the case, right? I was watching the VOD quality, and the VOD quality was really bad. It's something I didn't dig into until late, mostly because I have, busy, have, a 1.5-year-old who's very, very active, and that's fine, right? She's a kid. It's fine. But it does mean that I'm a little slower sometimes on the gun of watching my own stuff. And I'm hoping, I think a lot of that's corrected. I'm going to rewatch this video when it goes up, and I should have a good idea at that point. I do know the quality is at least a little bit better for recordings. So if we have to record stuff next season, I know it'll at least be good, or at least higher quality than the 480 that it was recording in previous. Yeah, what a disaster. But I think my YouTube channel is going to become something like this, and so I'm really excited for the long term growth of this channel. Even if it's just an archive for things I do, you know, uh, gaming, I think it's fine. Even if it's just an archive for the draft league, what I do in the draft league, it's also fine. This is a good experience. I am on board. I think it'll be season 5 for like the total draft league, but it'll be our season 2 since we've kind of instituted divisions and standings. It'll be season 2 for me, obviously. And I think it'll be exciting. So, as I said, I'll post a community post at the end of the season. Season ends on the 20th, so 12 days from now. A lot of time left. And all I need is for 2 people to fail, which should be fun to watch. I will be watching all of their streams from now on. Because I gotta know. I gotta reach 4th, man. I'm very competitive. And I really am going to take the lessons I learned and apply them going forward. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for the next season. I'll update y'all when that happens. I think it'll be at the start of next month, because the season ends on the 20th, and we're probably going to give it a 2-week break to kind of, tweak some things, set some things up for the next season, get the people that want to be involved in. If you're interested in joining the draft, leave a comment. I will see it. Obviously, my channel's really small, so I see all comments at this stage. And I can help you get into the Discord. I can help you get set up. And I know we're looking to get a 3rd division running, so that we can have a true, slifer red, obelisk blue, and then like, is it raw yellow? Kind of like in GX where they had like the classes, That'd be really cool if we could get something like that. I don't know if it'll happen. But yeah, it's exciting. And I will see the rest of you in season 2. Thank you for letting me ramble for 45 minutes and seeing the ramblings of someone that, had a tough go around. But what matters is we crossed the finish line. That's what matters. We crossed it. It can be ugly, but we crossed it. So I'll see y'all next season. Thank you so much. Have a good night.